All right, it's time to get started again. And in this one, we're going to make another project. So I am going to open folder. This is where all my projects are, and I'll create a new folder called Sample Project 3. And we'll open that. Same thing as before. Create a new project, blank project, Sample Project 3, just like that. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and get started here. In this one, we're going to try to make a Pong game. So I'm going to go over here, get my simulator open, and we'll set our background, set background color, and I don't know, let's just choose a random one here, 6. There we go. Hey, it's the same color as this. Oh, that's kind of gross. Let's just go with white. I think that's pretty easy to work with here. Oh no, you know what? This is actually going to be traditional Pong, so it's going to have a black background, and then we're going to make white assets for this. So we've got our black background set up. Now let's create the assets that we need. So similar to last time, we're going to need a ball. So we'll make an 8x8 ball. I thought that was a pretty good size, just like before, but this time it's going to be white. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And then dot, 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 and fill it. And then we'll call this ball. And then the next thing that we need to actually make is another asset, and it's going to be our paddle. And for a paddle, let's make it 4 wide by 16 is about 1/10 of the screen. Let's go 32. So make this nice wide, or this kind of long paddle here, and we'll just fill the entire thing up, and we'll call this paddle. So now we've got our paddle, and we've got our ball assets. Let's place our ball in the center of the screen. And we'll say, for that, we'll say it was let ball sprite equal sprites dot create. And then we're going to put our image in there, assets dot image. That's going to be ball. And then sprite kind. We'll just go ahead and use the projectile. And then we're going to have, then that's just going to place it in the center of the screen here. Then we're going to create our 2 players. So let's say player 1 sprite equals sprites dot create. Same thing, assets dot image, but this time it's going to be paddle. And then sprite kind is going to be player. Copy this, put it here again. And we're going to make this player 2, and everything else is going to be exactly the same. But now I need to place player 1 and player 2. So we'll say let player 1 sprite, sorry, not let, player 1 sprite dot set x, no, set position, and we're going to make the position, it's going to be along here. We want it not to be right on the edge, but slightly out. So remember the middle of this is only 4 wide, so what if we put it at like 10? 10, 0. And we're just going to eyeball it. Hey, that's pretty good. Not 0, though. I want it to be screen dot height divided by 2, so that it places it in the middle of the height here. Okay. Now let's do the same thing for player 2 sprite. But instead of 10, it's going to be screen.width minus 10. Because we're going to go to the far right side and then push it back in by 10. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. What do you guys think? I think that's a pretty solid setup for our sprites. We could also put like a dashed line in the middle if we want. But that's sort of a traditional way to do Pong. But it's okay. We'll just leave it like this. And now I want to initialize the ball's movement, and we're going to do that by making it go either left or right, and we're going to set the, we could just choose a random direction in either of the 4 directions So the way we're going to do that initially, we'll say ball sprite.setVelocity, and we'll make it randint. So it's either going to be -1 or 1. This is actually a little bit trickier than we want. So the reason it's tricky is because we have to, it either has to be -1 or 1. There's a few different ways to do this. Let's do it kind of the easy to understand way. I'm going to create a new function to do this actually. Set initial velocity. And then inside of here, we're going to say, we're going to have random int 0, 1. And we'll say if equals 0, then we're going to say, well, this is kind of tricky too. So I'm going to have it, I'm going to say let xvel equal 0, let, I don't need semicolons, let yvel equal 0, and then we'll say if this equals 0, then we're going to say xvel equals 1. Otherwise, xvel equals -1. And then we're going to repeat this same thing, and we're going to have it yvel, and then we're going to set our ball sprite dot set velocity to xvel and yvel. I could use xv. Actually, you know what? We've been using xv or vx, so let's do that. Let's stick with vx and vy like we did before. Sorry, vx and vy. There we go. Okay. Sorry, vy. And I actually want these to be outside because I want these at the global scale. So I'm going to have these here instead. And then what I'll do is actually take this out, and I'm going to have ball sprite.set velocity vx vy, and initially this is not going to move at all. So the ball's still going to be sitting here, but I have to call my set initial velocity function, and that's going to reset the vx to either -1, 1 or, interesting, why did that not do anything? If randint, is it not passing it? Sorry, and let me figure this out. This is a little bit weird. What if I set it here? I don't know why it's not setting it out there. Oh, it is set. Oh, it's just really, really slow. Okay. Sorry, is it set here as well? Yeah, sorry, I kept looking over when it wasn't moving. You guys are like, dude, it's moving, calm down. So I don't want I want this to be like 100 or maybe 50 and then -50 and then 50 and -50. So there we go. Now when I restart, it should be going random directions among the 4 possible directions. There it goes. So it can go in any of the 4 directions to start with. Now this is not good to hard code in here. What if I want to make it faster? So I'm going to say let speed equal 50, and we're going to say speed here instead, and then negative speed, and then speed and negative speed. That way I can reset this, you know, in any way that I want. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, so we got our ball moving in the right directions, and everything's working good. Next, we're gonna have to do player controls for our paddle.